Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for the Basic Steps to Starting a Business in New Mexico webinar. My name is Christopher Garcia and I'm the Small Business Development Specialist at the SBDC at UNM Valencia campus. We created this webinar off of a great document on our website called the Basic Steps to Starting a Business, and my contact information is on the slide. And a PDF of the slides will be emailed to you. In fact, I'll show you the follow-up email. I sent this out just before, so about maybe 3-4 minutes ago. So you could let me know in the chat or the Q&A if you didn't get it. But this is the email. Here's the quick start guide. Here's the basic steps to choosing a business entity, the basic steps to starting a business, and all the links that we're going to talk about today. If I go over a special link and you want that one, I'll chat that over to everybody. But you don't have to worry about catching everything on the slides because those will be emailed to you. Before we begin, let's go over some webinar ground rules. Everyone on the call right now is muted, so don't worry about background noise. And there's a feature to raise your hand, and I'll use it throughout the webinar to make sure everything's flowing. In fact, everybody who could see my slides and hear me, can you raise your hand just so I make sure we're flowing along? Thank you. You guys are very responsive. You're a good group. Going to lower all hands. If you have any questions about our slide presentation today, please put those questions in the Q&A. In fact, let's see if you all could all use the Q&A. Would you put a hi, how are you in the Q&A for me so I know that's working today? If you have like a question like the slide isn't advancing or something like that, you could put that in the chat, but I'd prefer you put your questions about the slideshow in the Q&A. So, hi Tanya, Tana, hi John, hi Carla, and howdy Mr. Tensi, Tenek, Mr. Tenek. Thank you, you guys. I don't have to worry about you guys at all today. You're pretty tech savvy. And each slide is numbered, so if you want me to revisit a slide during the Q&A, please put that in put the slide number in the Q&A and I'll revisit that. Here's a graphic of our center locations throughout New Mexico, and the mission of the SBDC is to build skilled entrepreneurs and strong businesses by offering no-cost confidential business consulting and lower no-cost training events like this one. I'm going to tell you more about the SBDC in the next few slides, but I want you to notice the little blurb at the bottom of the screen, powered by the SBA or the Small Business Administration. We are funded in part by the Small Business Administration and the great state of New Mexico. This is the slide I set aside for our training offerings. This one's a little dated, but just to remind you how to get to our trainings, open up a search engine, go to our website, which is nmsbdc.org. And in the upper right-hand corner next to counseling is SBDC workshops and events. And you could click here for a list of workshops. And then you could see today's webinars. There's one coming up tomorrow called Selling Magic, How to Master the Cold Call and Follow Up. I think I need to take that one. And register your trademark now what? That's a good one. Workers' compensation compliance, that's happening at our Hobbs location. And you could look at this website to see your local center offerings. Our local centers often offer workshops or webinars catered to their specific audience. Let's go back to our slides. Here's the agenda for today's training. I'm going to tell you more about the SBDC, talk to you about our pre and post surveys for this training, get into the basic steps, and review and demonstrate our excellent research tools, and then I'll take questions. I'll also do a show of hands throughout the presentation just to make sure everybody's still there. And in fact, I like to see who's here from the different quadrants of New Mexico. So if you're here from Central New Mexico, would you raise your hand for me? So we're talking about the Albuquerque metro area. Donna. Very good. Well, thank you for joining me from Central New Mexico. How about from the Northwest region of New Mexico? Who's here from maybe, say, Farmington? I don't have any Northwesterners here today. How about the Northeast? Maybe Tucumcari, Clayton. No, Northeasterners. Okay, let's see. How about Southwest? Silver City, the Boot Heel of New Mexico. I don't see anybody. How about Southeast? Hobbs, Lovington, Loving, Carlsbad. Oh, perfect. Thank you for joining us. I have a lot of people from that area. Great. I'm glad you're here. So we're doing a diagonal, serving a diagonal today. Now let's talk about the services of the SBDC. Again, we offer two major services: confidential business counseling and low or no cost business trainings. There are no limits to how much no cost counseling you can receive or how many training events you can attend. We have centers throughout New Mexico, so there'll be one close to you. And if you look at the graphic in the upper right-hand corner, it shows what we do: renew, grow, launch, and start up small businesses. This slide shows what we expect from our clients. My fellow business advisors and center directors want you to succeed, so you'll be assigned homework or further research. Please do the work necessary to succeed. We can't make decisions for you or offer tax or legal advice. We can only connect you to the information you need to make educated decisions. And part of making educated decisions is working with licensed professionals like attorneys or CPAs. And I'll show you how to find an attorney later in the webinar. And I also have a great tool if you need help finding a certified public accountant. Next, I want to remind you about important surveys we send out as part of attending these trainings. Everyone who registered for this webinar received an email from Annalena saying, in anticipation of the upcoming basic steps to starting a business in New Mexico event you have registered for, we'd like to collect some preliminary information from you. With this information in hand, we can tailor the course material to better fit your needs. So I just want to do a show of hands. How many of you received the pre-survey? In the lower hands first, okay. And I expect to see everybody's hands. Okay, good. At least half of you received the survey. If not, look for it in your spam or your junk boxes, and you will receive a post-webinar evaluation. So please do both. It's part of our funding with the SBA, and we value your feedback. So we want to hear that from you. Very good. Now let's talk about starting a business in New Mexico. Before going into business, there are some important things you must consider. Will I make enough money to live? Will this replace my current income? Do I need the benefits offered by my current employer, like retirement plans, medical insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance, disability insurance, life insurance, or other important benefits? Can you replace those benefits by starting your business? You must also think about your educational background and skills. Do you have the correct educational background and skills to understand and operate the many facets of a business? This includes bookkeeping, accounting, human resources, supply chain management, sales, and that's just to name a few. If not, you may need to hire somebody to perform these tasks or obtain further trainings. So I have a great document. It's called Test Your Potential as an Entrepreneur. Let me open that up. Sorry about the phone ringing in the background. There's no rest for the wicked. In fact, I'm going to open that up. My slide links hardly work. I'm going to open it up using the follow-up email that I did send to everybody just before we started. I have the Test Your Potential as an Entrepreneur right there. And let's go over the high points. So it's a great little survey of your skills and abilities. And if you're working with a business advisor, it's a great way for the business advisor to gauge where you might need some extra training opportunities. We have some myths and misconceptions, identifying some startup ideas, a feasibility analysis is something I enjoy doing. And that's, after all, what the whole business plan is about. Estimating the cost of a startup. We also have proprietary software for that. Your personal costs, which if you're applying for a small business loan, they ask you for your personal income, profit and loss statement. Estimate of business operating costs. We usually, if you need a business loan, we usually go out 2 years. And again, we have software we use. It's called the South Dakota spreadsheet or the South Dakota model. And it's a really great software for predicting what your costs and your incomes are going to be over, say, 2 or 3 years. And here's the basic steps to starting a small business. Great article, and on the back of that or great publication on the back of that is contact information for different organizations you may need to contact. A business plan outline. I've also included the business plan template I like to use at the SBDC at UNM Valencia campus, and an overview of questions that you should answer in a business plan. So that's a great starting point for everybody on the call today. Now we're going to get into the steps one by one. There's 13 altogether, by the way. These slides will be emailed to all attendees, so don't worry about writing down web addresses. And in fact, the web addresses that I'm talking about, I'll most likely open from that startup email on the screen, just because it works a little bit better than my slides on this computer. This is the who. So first we're going to define the business, and this is the who, what, when, where, why, and how. And these questions are typically answered in a business plan. And if we go back to that email here is the SBDC at UNM Valencia business plan. It downloads as a Word document. And here it is on the screen. And it's a 21-page document. It goes through almost everything you need to consider before opening a business. It's also a great template for presenting a business plan to a lender. And I think a fill in the blank is a little bit more approachable than just an outline of questions you need to answer. And again, if you need a business loan, you must provide a business plan to the lender with at least 2 years of financial projections. Many centers use a fill in the blank template, and I've included that in the follow-up email. But there are many options for creating a business plan, like online software such as LivePlan. The SBA.gov has a great training with worksheets with sample financial statements. And we have more tools available at nmsbdc.org. I also want to point you towards the New Mexico Economic Development Department one-stop website for starting a business. That's gonm.biz. And this website is a partnership between all the agencies or the economic development agencies you should contact before starting a business. And I'm going to see if this link will work on our slides. Fingers crossed. So they just revamped their website. And I usually take you to the financing or the finance opportunities for a business. Let me find that. It's under business resources, EDD programs for business. And you have all the different programs that the state of New Mexico offers for small business. The ones I want to go over with you today are in the finance development section or the dollar sign. And the first one I want to talk to you about is LEDA, or the Local Economic Development Act. If you want to start a business or expand a business in New Mexico, the state of New Mexico sets aside a pot of funds. I believe the last time I heard it was like somewhere like between 12 million or so dollars. And they issue these funds to municipalities to reimburse businesses for expenses if they meet certain requirements. So let's see what those requirements are. We want to start a business with a significant community impact and support. hopefully be stationed in a rural or underserved area of New Mexico, offer increased wages, and the goal of this is job creation. Significant new capital investment and environmentally sustainable outcomes. A qualifying entity is in the industry for the manufacturing process or assembling of agricultural or manufactured products, a commercial enterprise for storing, warehousing, distributing, or selling products of agriculture, mining, or having been manufactured, or an economic-based employer, which is defined as an employer who is deemed eligible for implant training assistance by the Economic Development Department's Job Training Assistance Program. And they tend to be manufacturers or wholesale sellers. So usually manufacturing or warehousing or some sort of agricultural entity. Non-qualifying entities, they're usually an enterprise for the sale of goods and commodities at retail or distribution to the public of electricity, gas, water, telephone, or utilities, or a business in which all part of the activities of the business involves the supplying of services to the general public or to government agencies. And you could contact the department, the Economic Development Department, for more information about that. They usually have a contact at the very bottom. That happens to be Mr. Torres. The next program I want to talk to you about is the Collateral Assistance Program, or CAP. So if you need a loan to start a business in the state of New Mexico, but maybe you don't have enough collateral in that loan to qualify for a traditional loan, the state of New Mexico will do whatever it does with their financial mechanism to guarantee that loan. So this is a loan guarantee, kind of like what the Small Business Administration does. And they just make a loan more enticing to a lender. So say you wanted to put up a building and then take out some money for working capital and equipment, you could contribute $100,000 into that deal. The building and equipment is its own collateral, but you're missing maybe $50,000 with the collateral in a loan. They could help you with that collateral gap. They won't give you money, but they will guarantee that they'd cover that $50,000 in default of the loan. And there's a lot less requirements for this program. So if you're interested in that or an SBA loan guarantee, want more information, just put that in the Q&A. And then the last program I want to talk to you about are opportunity zones. I'm not having any luck on the website today, but what opportunity zones are there zones in New Mexico deemed as low income but high probability of creating economic development in those areas. For instance, if you've been watching the news lately, Facebook or Meta has created a data center here in Los Lunas, and they're actually located in an opportunity zone, which is the Los Moros manufacturing complex. And if you wanted to go into one of those places, you could use not venture capital, but opportunity fund money, which is if you have a lot of capital gains taxes in a business or your personal tax return, instead of paying the capital gains taxes to the IRS, you could opt to invest them in an opportunity fund. If you hold that investment in an opportunity fund for 10 years, you don't have to pay capital gains taxes until you sell the investment. And these funds, they're usually put together by large fund brokers, large certified public accounting firms, and they take this capital gains that's been invested in these funds and they invest it into these opportunity zone areas. So it's a way to get private investment to those who may not otherwise qualify. And the Economic Development Department had a great webinar recently, it was about 2 weeks ago, on opportunity zones, and it's available on their YouTube channel. So those are the 3 programs I wanted to talk to you about from the Economic Development Department. Let's go back to our slides. Step 2 is to choose a business name. There are legal considerations when choosing a business name, and it's very important to find a name that resonates with your target market, looks good on a website, social media, business cards, and other marketing material, is easy to spell and pronounce, and isn't trademarked or copywritten, probably the most important, by another business. For example, there was a restaurant in Albuquerque called Dee's Cheesecake Factory. And if you grew up in Albuquerque, this was probably one of your favorite places for lunch or a sweet treat. The owners of Dee's Cheesecake Factory started this business after World War II and trademarked the name in the state of New Mexico. Fast forward to about 2010, there's a national chain called the Cheesecake Factory that wants to do business in New Mexico, but could not operate a restaurant with Cheesecake Factory in the name because the savvy business owners at Dee's reserved the business name many years before. In this example, the small business had the upper hand, but you could imagine how a small business operating under a trademark business name could end up being sued, have to change the business name and all that expensive marketing material that comes with it, and it might actually destroy a new business. There are two types of trademarks. There's a state and a federal, and the first website on the screen is for the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and the second is for the New Mexico Secretary of State's office. They handle state level patents or copyrights and trademarks. It's important for you to consult with an attorney before making a decision on a business name. And I'll show you some great resources later in the presentation, including the newest member of the SBDC team, the Technology Commercialization Accelerator at New Mexico Tech, staffed by Estefanita Rollins. Now I'm hungry for cheesecake, everybody. Okay, step 3 is choosing and registering your legal structure. The legal structure of your business is its foundation, and you must carefully consider how you wish to legally operate your business. And this has tax and legal connotations. The common business structures are on the slide. Everything but sole proprietorships must be registered with the New Mexico Secretary of State's office, and the paperwork is available online. And more information about legal structures can be found in the document called The Basics of Choosing a Business Entity. It's on our website, and it's in the follow-up email I'm going to send you. It's put together by an attorney, and excuse me for that bad link. It's on our website, and it's also in that follow-up email I'm going to send you, or I sent you already. It goes over the laws under which you're governed as a business owner. Then it goes into some more information about the legalities of each of the business entities. And it's very important for you to carefully consider how you want to be taxed and how you want to legally operate. And you could also consult with an attorney or a CPA regarding these. My experience with CPAs is they charge between $500 and $1,500 to get all the business documents started for you. I also put a sneaky little link here for B corporations or benefits corporations. It's a certification for corporations that give a public benefit in addition to operating as a corporation. I like to use the example of Tom's shoes. So whenever you buy a pair of Tom's shoes, they give a pair of shoes to somebody in Africa. And that's a great example of a B corporation. And it's a very trendy sort of thing to do these days. Now that we're having fun talking about paperwork, let's talk about step 4, obtain your federal employer identification number. This is the unique identification number issued to your business by the IRS and is used on all federal filings. If you're a sole proprietor, you typically use your social security number instead of an EIN, but these days, most banks or credit unions will require an EIN before you could open up a business bank account. This number is just as important as your social security number and should be protected as such. There's actually more fraud that happens with EIN numbers than with social security numbers. And we all know how rampant fraud is with social security numbers. And no matter what business entity you choose, it's a good idea to obtain this number because it's, again, required to open up a business bank account. And it's also the number you'll use when you pay your federal employment taxes, if you're paying wages. Continuing with our paperwork requirements, step 5 is to register with the New Mexico Taxation and Revenue Department to obtain a gross receipts tax ID or a B-TIN. They used to call them CRS IDs, now they call them B-TINs or business identification numbers. You might be wondering what's a B-TIN, what is it used for, and why do you need it? Well, It's a unique identifying number used by the New Mexico Taxation and Revenue Department to record and track your business's collection and payment of gross receipts tax. And if gross receipts tax is a new term for you, you might recognize it as a tax you pay whenever you buy goods or services in New Mexico. It's usually around 8% and shows up at the bottom of your receipt. The online registration form is free to complete, but you may want to seek the advice of a certified public accountant when completing the application. You must also file your gross receipts tax reports on a monthly, quarterly, bi-yearly, or casual schedule. Therefore, the department offers great online trainings for new businesses, new employers, and they also include a link for the IRS information as well. Let me show you the follow-up email. And then see, there's the link there for New Mexico Taxation and Revenue Workshops. And they are pre-recorded and available for you at that link. So we have the new business workshop. Everybody contemplating starting a new business should take that one. If you're going to have employees, definitely take the new employers workshop. And they have some great information from the IRS about your federal tax liabilities. Step 6 is to obtain your local business license and other applicable licenses. When doing business in New Mexico, you need a business license in the municipality or county where you have a physical presence. For instance, Teofilo's restaurant has a physical presence in Los Lunas, so they get a Village of Los Lunas business license. If they had a food truck in addition to the restaurant and they did business in Belen, they would have to obtain a temporary or full license in the city of Belen. Some of you might be thinking that you'll do business online or in another state. This means getting a business license at any place where you will physically conduct commerce. Each municipality or county has different requirements for obtaining a business license, so check with the municipal or county office or consult an attorney for further advice. And for instance, Rio Communities asks you to sketch a floor plan of your business. Whether you're just operating a business out of your home or if you have a storefront, they ask you to sketch a floor plan. And the Socorro County doesn't have a formal business licensing process. I find that very interesting. And they just ask that you get your gross receipts tax ID before you operate. And again, the thing that you need before you could even apply for a business license is a gross receipts tax ID number. Step 7 is to report new hires to the New Mexico directory. And the link to the directory is on the slide, but this brings human resources into the human resource considerations into mind. Human resources is a very important part of any business and comes with many legal and accounting considerations. You can always contact an accountant or an attorney for specific information, but I included 2 good resources for learning more about employment procedures and laws. So we have our partners at Comply Right. They actually sponsor the America's SBDC conference. They are a for-profit business, but they have a knowledge center just for us and our clients. And they have webinars and different topics on human resources. They have great little articles in their blog that they offer. Let's go to the tip sheets. E-guides. So really, they just have the webinars online right now. Their webinars are very useful, and they talk about, the general topics you need to think about. And then next, we have information from the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. So the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission is the government agency that investigates claims of discrimination based on the protected classes. And if you're going to have any employees or if you're going to have anybody coming into your storefront, you definitely want to read the small business requirements before it turns into a lawsuit. It's better that you know what the requirements are instead of violating one by accident, because ignorance of the law is not a defense. I believe is the exact wording my business law professor would use. So let's go back to our slides. Keeping with the 8R trend, step 8 is if you have employees, you may need to complete Form ES 802. And this is a required form for the New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions or Connections. And the Department of Workforce Solutions has many services, tax credits, and learning opportunities for small business owners. So I included their business outreach website on the screen. That's this one right here. Some common services that the Department of Workforce Solutions offers are job postings, that's their biggest one, pre-employment screenings like typing tests, and in some cases, they provide space to conduct interviews. And if you're going to have employees, take a look at this business outreach site. It tells you everything you need to know. And then there's hiring incentives. So if you hire maybe somebody who's on disability, if you hire somebody recently graduated from a local community college, there may be tax credits available for you. Step 9 is if you have employees, seek the assistance of an accountant. You can see all the tax acronyms on the screen: SUTA, FUTA, FIT, SIT, FICA. Oof. And if you aren't willing or able to deal with them, please seek out a bookkeeper or an accountant. And this brings your federal tax obligations into light. So I included the link to the IRS Small Business Self-Employed Tax Center. Let's bring up our follow-up email. And here's the IRS Self-Employed Tax Center right here. If you want to learn more about your federal tax liabilities under online learning tools, there's the Small Business Taxes, the virtual workshop. If you're not going to have employees, you could probably get away with the first 4 lessons. If you're going to have employees, take all 8 lessons. It's well worth the time spent in this webinar, and it will really give you an idea of whether or not you want to deal with the tax obligations or outsource that work to a bookkeeper or an accountant. It's kind of entertaining too. They have some overacting in there for sure. Step 10 is to seek the assistance of an attorney. We talked about some of the important legal landmines in this starting a business and operating a business, and attorneys are licensed to answer those questions. For patents and trademarks, there are 2 resources: the New Mexico Technology Commercialization Accelerator and the New Mexico State University Patent and Trademark Resource Center. And then I told you about that resource for finding an attorney, the New Mexico Bar Association, or the State Bar of New Mexico, as they like to be called these days. I have the link in the follow-up email, sbnm.org. They have a database of attorneys who passed the bar in New Mexico under For the Public, I Need a Lawyer, and the Bar Directory. And I like to use practice areas and practice counties. So you'd most likely need an attorney who practices in business and corporations. Let's see, intellectual property, patents, and trademarks. Labor and employment law. And then I usually go to the biggest county next to me. Valencia may not have anybody. Bernalillo County will. And then I just do that search, and you can see a listing of attorneys who practice in those practice areas. And if we pick one by random, that one happens to be in Oklahoma, but does practice here. It tells you what their practice areas are. I usually click on one that has more than one practice area. And you could see they practice in numerous different areas there. Tells you where they're located, what their number is, what their email address is. It's a wealth of information. They also have the general referral service where you pay them $35 and they connect you with an attorney who's willing to take your case for a 30-minute consultation. And let's see if the NMSU Patent and Trademark Resource Center opens up. And David Irvin at the Patent and Trademark Resource Center. He is the Patent and Trademark Resource Center for the entire state of New Mexico. And if you need help researching patents or trademarks, he could give you the guidance you need. So could a Stefanita Rawlings at the Technology Commercialization Accelerator. Step 11 is to review the guidelines for compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. This is a major legal landmine for small businesses and should be carefully considered. So let's go to that publication. Fingers crossed it opens for my slides. And if you look, here's the ADA website, and they have a primer for small business. Some people make their living suing based on ADA compliance in small business. And it's better you know how you need to comply than be sued later on. So definitely take a look at that, especially if you're going to have a storefront or you're going to have employees. Step 12 is to establish a business bank account. It's best practice to keep your personal and business finances separate, and this makes your bookkeeping process easier and will help you if your business ever experiences an audit. And the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or the FDIC, has a great learning opportunity for people wanting to open a small business or those operating a small business. It's called FDIC Money Smart for Small Business. And they have a module just on banking services available for small businesses. So I recommend you, if you could take a look at the whole thing, I recommend it because it's free. It's your tax dollars at work, and it's great information. But if you only want to take a look at one, take a look at the banking services because they are different for small business than they are for individuals. Our final step lucky number 13, is have adequate business insurance coverage. The slide shows the common types of insurance coverage, and I recommend you research your options with an independent insurance broker. Oftentimes, independent insurance brokers sell insurance from many different companies and tend to be less biased. And they're also small businesses typically. You can learn more about business insurance by visiting the link on the slide. It's for Hitchcock's Insurance Company's blog. They're one of the largest small business insurers in the nation, and they have a learning center just for the Small Business Development Center clients. And if you need a list of insurance brokers in your area, please reach out to your business advisor, center director, and we could pull that from for you. So let's go to that website. I also have it on the follow-up email. And full disclosure, they're a sponsor of the American Small Business Development Conference. They are the largest insurer in the nation, but they have these great videos. What is small business insurance? What is general liability insurance? And what is professional liability insurance? And before you start your insurance search, these are great videos for you to watch. Okay. Whew. I got through our steps pretty quickly, so I'm going to see if there's any questions in the Q&A. If you want to type a question right now, I could answer it for you before we get into our research tools. Okay, first question from John. Does New Mexico have a fee for starting an LLC, and can I do it myself online? Both questions are yes. They do have a fee. It's $50, and you could do it on the Secretary of State's website through their business portal. And it's not very complicated. It's about 3 sheets of paper, 3 screens that you have of questions you have to answer. But you should really think about, what is my business physical address? What is my business mailing address? Who is my registered agent, or do I want to be my own registered agent? What's my business phone number, and what's my business email address? Because all of this is public record. I know some people who have home-based businesses want to keep that information private. So you may have to rent a storefront before you begin, so you have a business address. You could get a virtual business address from places like Office Alternatives in Albuquerque. And of course, you could always get a P.O. box. But you have to have a physical address in the state of New Mexico for your registered agent. And that oftentimes means renting property, renting an office space, or getting a virtual business address. Good question. Thank you, John. Mr. Tenek says, would you recommend online services such as LegalZoom or others to start an LLC? If you are a single member LLC, you're typically going to be taxed as a sole proprietor. And if you're a single member LLC, it's pretty easy for you to do yourself. If you're a multi-member LLC, you may be taxed as a partnership or an S Corp. That's when I recommend you use one of those online services. And they're kind of pricey. If you go to a local attorney, they'll probably charge you the same amount or less than what those online services provide. But I've seen clients come in who have done their articles through LegalZoom, NOLO, or Rocket Lawyer, and they do a very good job for you. They also offer registered agent services. So if you wanted to conceal your home address, you could get a registered agent service. Okay, now let's go into some of these. Oh, one more. Okay, thank you. One more. Oh no, I think we're good. Let's go into our research tools and then I'll answer more questions at the end. So now that we covered all 13 steps to starting a business, I want to share with you some research tools that we use to gain insights into industry analysis, market research, demographics, and traffic counts. These data tools are very, very important to the success of your business because they help you fill in your business plan, make informed decisions, and plan for the future. Your business is a big investment, so treat it as such. The first 4 links are free and available to you. You could use them right now. The database is in bold at the bottom of the screen. IBIS World, Reference USA, and Demographics Now are available to you through the SBDC because we pay for the subscriptions. And if you were to get reports from those, they'd be upwards of $800. So let's go through the first free ones. The first link is for a great 30-minute webinar from the Small Business Administration's website on how to write a business plan. They also provide great worksheets and examples of financial projections. The second link is for bplans.com by Palo Alto Software. I mentioned earlier that they have a business plan software. They used to sell their sample business plans on a CD-ROM for like $300. And now they offer all of their plans for free at bplans.com. And they also have numerous other business planning examples and tools. The third link is for Census Business Builder, and this is a no-cost database that allows you to find demographic information about your customers, census stats about businesses in your industry, and estimates of yearly household expenditures in certain industries. The last link is for the Middle Rio Grande Council of Governments Interactive Traffic Counts Map. If you happen to be in central New Mexico, where the Middle Rio Grande Middle Rio Grande Council of Governments, they have an interactive traffic counts map. If you're in other parts of the state, they often issue a report, and it's usually every 4 years, 2 to 4 years. And if you're starting a business and you want to find a location, you typically want to know how many people are passing that location on a weekday or on the daily. So now the first free one I want to show you is the Census Business Builder. And if you want me to expand on these in the Q&A, or if there's some that I don't cover, let me know and I could do that if we have time. So let's look at the small business edition of the Census Business Builder. This database is organized by NAICS codes, NAICS codes. And if you don't know your NAICS code, please contact your SBDC advisor because we have to put them in your record so we'll know. If you're one of the common codes like construction, food service, I'll use food service as an example today, and we'll use restaurants. They have quick selections for you there. We'll use the city of Albuquerque. It's our largest city in my service, not my service area, but next to our service area. And you could go to a map and you could explore some of this data on a map. I don't like the map very much because it takes a lot of bandwidth. It's usually not available during those peak hours of internet use. I like to create a report because I'm a more read it and learn type of person. I could print this report, I could highlight things on it. So it tells you about my customers, businesses like mine, and consumer spending. So first it goes into demographic characteristics about your potential clients. So it gives you the total population of Albuquerque, Gives you a lot of different census stats there. Then it gives you some socioeconomic information about your potential clients. So median household income happens to be $54,072, and this is up as of 2019. So it's pretty up-to-date information. And it gives you some other socioeconomic characteristics as well. Percent who drive alone to work, 80%. Whoever needed to know that now knows. Next, we have some housing characteristics. So we know how many housing units there are. We know what the median year the structure was built, and we know how much it costs to own and to rent on average. We also know the median value of a housing unit in Albuquerque. Then we get some information about other employers. So average employment per employer is 27 in the restaurant. That's interesting. Average revenue per employer. And so this is in the millions, so 1.18 million. Average revenue per employee. Oh, that's the thousand. So the average restaurant in Albuquerque would be what? Add 3 zeros. Yeah, about $1 million. Non-employer firms, so there are 87 that don't have any employees. All great information when planning your business. And then my favorite part of this is the consumer spending. Oh, it's unavailable for restaurants in Albuquerque. I don't know why, and it's my favorite part of this. So let's clear that selection there and go into personal services. Let's see, auto repair. Let's create the report. There's always more than one way to skin a cat. Consumer spending is unavailable for auto repair. That is very unique. That's the first time this has happened to me. But as we saw before, there's two types of census business. There's the business edition and the regional analyst edition. If you can't find what you need in the business builder, the analyst edition tends to work very well. You could create a regional report. So the regional edition, actually, it's you narrow down. You could drill down a little further than the small business edition, and it gives you all the same information. It doesn't have those businesses like line stats though, because we don't put a NAICS code in. But here is that consumer spending information, and it's per household in 2021. So this is the most up-to-date information. So here are the total consumer expenditures per household. So it looks like we're spending more than we actually make on average. So, and remember, this is the average expenditure per year per household. So if I wanted to start maybe a women's clothing store, the average household spends $621.81 on clothing per year. And maybe I'm an online store. I want to find places to really market my apparel to. I could look up different zip codes, different cities, states, metro areas, counties, and compare them using this tool. Very useful tool. You could also make an appointment with your SBDC counselor or me, and I could help you with these tools because they're some of my favorite to use. Oops, I'm getting ahead of myself there. Next, I want to show you IBIS World, which is one of the paid databases we use. And again, you have to contact your SBDC to get a hold of these reports. If you do anything with the SBDC, other than take this webinar, it's to get your IBIS World report about your industry. I wouldn't start a business unless I had one of these reports. So let's do restaurants. We'll do single location full service. I use restaurants in this example because there's a lot of data about this industry. And I like to go over the high points in the report, in the full report. And I typically send the full report to my clients. So let's go over the high points of this industry together. Again, it's a single location food service industry. So here are the key external drivers. I like to call these the key economic drivers for a business. So what drives the single location full service restaurant business? Consumer spending. consumer confidence index, or an individual's view of how well the economy is going to do over time. The healthy eating index, households earning more than 100,000 per year, and an urban population. They give you your first tier suppliers and first tier buyers. They'll also give you second tier buyers if you have those. Gives you a look at what the drivers were doing between 2016 and 2021. Looks like most were growing. And tells you between 2021 and 2026, the revenue in this industry was growing 3.9%. So we're on a growing trend there. We're going to grow and then stable. Profit in this industry was on a growing trend as well. Profit margin in this industry is 4%. This tells me that about 4 cents out of every dollar goes into your business's profit. And the lower the profit margin, the more product you have to sell. So you're a small manufacturer as a restaurant. And it looks like we were on a growth trend. The number of businesses looks like it's going to increase 2.3% until 2026. Same with employment and wages. This gives us the product and services that are most popular across the nation in this industry. So let's see what wins from this industry. Looks like Asian restaurants followed by US restaurants. And then it gives you the SWOT analysis, or the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Gives you the industry performance as it relates to consumer spending and consumer confidence index, where those were two major drivers in the industry. So this tells me that this industry is very market dependent. It's very dependent on these two economic drivers. And here we see in 2020 the effects of COVID, and the industry is predicted to grow and then stabilize. Gives you a lot more information about this industry. Let's see, where is this industry in the business life cycle? It is in the quality growth phase, which means it's probably a good idea to open up a restaurant like this at this point. Gives you the product service segmentation again. And one of my favorite parts of this is it gives us the major markets in this industry. So we want to open up a single location food, full service restaurant in areas with households earning more than 100,000. That's our largest market. So if that market wasn't there for us, or we didn't have enough people in that market, probably not a good idea to open it in that particular location. So those are the high points of an IBIS World report. And now let's look at Reference USA, or Data Excel as they're called now. And when you look at that business plan, they're going to ask you, who are your competitors? And we could pool competitors. So say we wanted to find all the restaurants in Valencia County to analyze who our competitors are. And then we could do this by sales volume, number of employees, a lot of other search factors there. And we see there's 106 in Valencia County, and we could see all of them here. And another great thing is if, remember I told you, you have to do financial projections in a business plan. Say I want to compete against Benny's, one of my favorite places for a burger, by the way. I could see how much that restaurant's making per year. So you could start to think, if I'm competing against them, I could bring in maybe as much as them in sales. And take this with a grain of salt, because I don't know if the sales volume is 100% correct. But it gives us a good rule of thumb. And let's compare Benny's 2, which is in Bosque Farms, New Mexico, kind of off the beaten trail, to, Benny's 1 to Benny's 2. Benny's 2 is right on one of the highest traffic parts of Main Street. You can see the difference in sales there. So probably a good idea on their part to open a second location in a higher traffic area. back to reference. And then one of the cool things I could do with references, say, is I could pull a search. So in this industry, the single location full service restaurant industry, we're looking for individuals with household incomes of 100,000 or more. Let's do Albuquerque because there's multiple zip codes in Albuquerque. And then let's see, maybe they have an interest in gourmet food. Maybe I wanted to open a French restaurant. I could see how many of those individuals there are. And remember, the more individuals in that income bracket or households, the better my business will do. And then I could view the results and I could actually see their names and addresses, which is really cool. Say I wanted to do a postcard mailing, letting them know I'm going to open up this restaurant on Eubank and Montgomery. I could send all those to in a radius of the business address and a zip code and in the whole city, whatever you deem best. And if you wanted to call these people or email them, you could purchase this information from Data Excel. And the last time I checked, it was 5,000 contacts for $1,000. Another cool thing you could do is you could map it. So I want to find a group. What zip code should I open up my French restaurant in Albuquerque, New Mexico? And it tells you how many households match that criteria per zip code. 87109 doesn't look so bad. 87111 he has a huge amount of my target market. So getting the information to make that educated decision, it looks like 87111 would be my best bet, followed by 87122, and then 114 and 120. And if I did a little bit more information like I have in the past, 120 is probably the best and most underserved location for this type of restaurant. So that's just some fun uses of our databases there. Okay. Since this is a COVID-19 sponsored webinar, this slide is a collection of links for some of the most accurate and reputable information about COVID-19 for employers or small businesses. The first link is to the New Mexico Department of Health's guidance for employers. The second is for New Mexico Safe Certified program, and this is a free interactive learning module about how businesses should operate during COVID-19 restrictions. The third link is for OSHA's publication on employer COVID safe practices. The fourth link is for information about COVID-19 from the Center for Disease Control. The fifth link, and the most important in my view, is an article by the EEOC called What You Should Know About COVID-19 and the ADA, the Rehabilitation Act, and other EEO laws. We are in a never more litigious society, so this is a must read for everybody on the call today. Finally, the sixth link is for the newmexico.gov, where you could find the most up-to-date state information related to COVID-19, as well as lending and grant opportunities. And don't forget about no-cost webinars and counseling services offered by the Small Business Development Center, SCORE, or the Service Corps of Retired Executives, the Small Business Administration, and the New Mexico Economic Development Department. Now that we talked about how we could help you, this is how you could help the SBDC. As part of offering our services, we need your help to ensure our services are around for more years to come. So we ask that you participate in our surveys, report economic impacts because of our assistance to your business advisor or center director, and write a letter of support to your local legislators about your experience with the Small Business Development Center. All information is kept confidential and is only reported in aggregate to our funders, the State of New Mexico, and the Small Business Administration. This slide provides contact information for SBDC programs, PTAC, IBA, and New Mexico Tech TCA. The Procurement Technical Assistance Center is a government-funded program providing assistance to small businesses who want to sell their goods or services to the government, educational institutions, or tribal entities. The International Business Accelerator is a one-stop shop of resources for New Mexican businesses and individuals wishing to introduce their product or services to the global market. And the New Mexico Technology Commercialization Accelerator offers no-cost confidential counseling regarding intellectual property. This slide continues the list of small business resource partners. SCORE, or the Service Corps Retired Executives. WEST, or the Women's Business Center Program. And VBOC, or the Veterans Business Outreach Center. And if you fit into any categories there, you may, especially if you're a veteran, reach out to the VBOC. Not only women can go to the WEST, men can too, and they are also a micro lender. And SCORE is open to everybody. They do counseling similar to the SBDC. And here's the contact information for your small business support team. We are funded by the Small Business Administration, and many people ask about SBA loans. So here's a link to the SBA resource guide. Download it here. And on page 33 are the different types of lending programs available through the Small Business Administration. The most common are the 7A and the microloans. And then just above this are all of the participating lenders and SBA programs. And again, you need your business plan and financial projections before you can apply. And then we have our link to the Small Business Administration District Office. I always list Shelley Brown as our contact because SBA stands for Shelley Brown is awesome, of course. And then the New Mexico Economic Development Department, which offers many potential funding opportunities for small business owners. This concludes our slideshow, and I'll answer questions in the Q&A or chat. I want to thank you for spending time with me again. So let's see what our first chat is. Oh, I see. You said page 24. Slide 24 is missing from the current slides. Let's go back and visit that. Thank you for letting me know, by the way. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put it in the chat. So that's in the chat for you all. I'll try to update it, but I've already sent out the follow-up email. So please get that off the chat. Let's go back to our Q&A. Okay, John asks, are there any advantages for disabled veterans to starting a business? So the advantages for disabled veteran-owned small businesses comes when you do government contracting. And so the government usually gives preference to service-disabled veteran-owned businesses and veteran-owned small businesses. There are no particular programs that offer incentives for the very beginning of starting a business. When you got an SBA guaranteed loan, veterans, despite their ethnicity or race, are considered for an SBA guaranteed loan. They used to get a little break on the interest, but I think they did away with that little break. So there aren't very many incentives for going into business, but once you start business, You have incentives to do business with the government. Most of the types of businesses that would be great for disabled veteran business owners would be consulting type businesses, manufacturing type businesses. And if you Google, there's always a list of in-demand So let's see. This gives you, here's some of the in-demand services that the government is buying from small businesses. So let me copy that, and I'm going to type an answer to your question, and I'll send that out. So let's see, furniture, office equipment. So it's basically supplying tangible goods. There's some services like cybersecurity services that are in demand right now, data center services. So these are some great ideas if you're a service disabled veteran or a disabled veteran to get into and then potentially sell to the government. Okay, I'm still here to answer questions for you guys. I'll probably stand for another 10 minutes or so. If we don't have any, I might end sooner. Let's look at the chat. Thank you for the information. Well, thank you, John. Thank you for spending time with us. I'm going to look at my participants. Mr. Tenick, you have your hand raised. I'm going to allow you to talk in case you're not able to type. You're on mute and you could speak if you'd like to. I'm going to look to see if we have any phone callers. Go ahead.
I think it was on accident. My bad.
No problem. Am I saying your name right?
Yes, sir. It's very useful
good.
information as well. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for spending time with us. So I'm going to remove your permission to speak. If anybody else wants to speak, raise your hand and I'll give you the permission to speak. If you want to ask your question on the Q&A, you're more than welcome to do so.